Welcome to today's panel discussion on the impacts of FinTech and banking sector's development on governance and society. It's a privilege for me to actually moderate this panel discussion today in front of four distinguished speakers today. Let me introduce myself at the beginning. I am Professor Taimur Sharif. I'm the Dean of the School of Management and Economics in the University of Kurdistan Houla. I actually joined last year, June 2023. I come with 25 years of experience in the higher education sector in the UK, in the Gulf and South Asia, and I'm here in front of you. My specialization of research is sustainable and digital finance. So it's a pleasure to be here to moderate the panel. Let me introduce the distinguished panel one by one. Allow me to read out actually from the note. Next to me first is Mr. Mohammed Uthman. He's currently the CEO of the First Bank of Iraq. He's leading the bank's digital transformation strategy and overseeing operations aimed at enhancing innovation and digital banking services in the Iraqi market. He has over 20 years of experience in the banking sector in the Middle East. The next is Dr. Jacob Muvingi. He's an industry expert of the mobile banking system in Africa. He's currently a FinTech and banking professor at the School of Management and Economics of the University of Kurdistan Houla. Next to him is Mrs. Duha Alata. She's currently working as a consultant with MoneyGram. Formerly, she was the Director General of Payments in the Central Bank of Iraq. She has over 25 years of experience in the banking sector of Iraq and the surrounding region. The last and not the least, Mr. Haman Aziz is the audit team leader at Kurdistan Board of Supreme Audit and auditor for the Kurdistan Association for Audit Profession and President's Advisor for Financial Affairs at the Barzani Charity Foundation. He is currently doing his PhD on the use of AI in KRI. So I welcome to all to this panel, and I thank them for their time to be here and answer some questions related to the topic. So let me start with Kak Hemin. My question to you is how FinTech digital banking is transforming the society, especially in terms of having access to financial services. Kak Hemin.
Thanks, Dr. Yes, this is the most important subject nowadays, the FinTech, because of some aspect. I mean, the good aspect of the FinTech, which is the consist of, I classify it to 5 aspects. The first one is about the impact on increase the financial inclusion and accessibility. In regard to the accessibility, the FinTech banking sector will be provide us some services through the digital platform. So based on this services, everyone can be able to open account, for example, on the mobile application and the wallet and everything. In regard to the financial inclusion, so for example, in the Kurdistan regions, previously we had a limit to access the bank, but nowadays through these services we can open account in the best way and easily and timely. Also, it's efficiency, these procedures. I mean, the FinTech services will be available 24 hours of the day, so everyone, which is the owner of the bank account, will be do everything on timely. And also, it is the cost saving. Without anything, you can do everything in regard to the finance and procedures. Also, this FinTech will be provide us some empowerment financial management tools. For example, you can do and manage your budget, and also you can do everything, set the goal of the income and the other things very, very easily. Another things in regard to the empowerment management tool, which is nowadays important, like the investment. Some bank through this FinTech services will be let us to invest our incomes and capitals in the best way. Also, another point in regard to FinTech, it's about the security and the safe of trust. Nowadays, the banking will be working on the FinTech services based on enhancing to improve the security by providing some features like the end-to-end encryptions and also the biometrical authentication. So these things will be help to customer to trust the banking procedures. And another point in regard to trust, it's about using the features of the AI and the machine learning procedures to detect the fraud on the banking procedures. The last point in regard, or last aspect in regard to the fintechs is about the economical development. You know, these procedures will be let us to participate in the financial activities and opening account very easily. So it will be very, very impressive and impact on the economical development. So through this aspect, the fintech it will be very, very good for the futures on the banking sector in the Kurdistan region and around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It seems the financial inclusion is going to be actually very important area to cover by the FinTech.
Yes.
Hopefully in this region. Yes.
As I mentioned, so previously in the Kurdistan region, for example, they had a limit on opening the bank account. But now through this fintech, for example, there's some features like we have the FastPay, FIB, and other things. So very easily you can be able to open an account. So, yes.
All right. Thank you very much. My next question is for Dr. Jacob. I just wanted to hear from you about some of the evolving innovative technologies that actually are used in the, promoting the fintech support services currently.
Okay, thank you, Professor, for such a good question. Let me start with the basic innovation, which is the digital wallet, which is connected with your mobile phone, and then you should have a mobile number. And this will allow you to do payments from one account to another. But then there's a need for the wallet to be upgraded, where a number of merchants are brought on board so that as the needs of customers are evolving, there's also need for the wallet to be able to do a number of payments, not only the normal airtime purchases, but more than that. Then the second innovation is around the Internet of Things and commerce. The Internet of Things has expanded the acceptance network for payments with the smartphones, where your smartphone, you can now use it as instead of your card, you can use your smartphone by just tapping on the payment infrastructure. And there's also a new trend whereby the connected devices like your motor vehicle, you can also do your payments. Let's say you visit a drive-in restaurant, or let's say you want to pay for gas or fuel at a service station. You don't just need to use your wallet or your bank account. You just need to press a button. So this is being supported by technologies like the telematics, which allow the car to be tracked, and also things like the cloud token frameworks, which support things like the card not present tokens. All these, they enhance the issues to do with security and transparency. Then the next innovation is around what we call cross-border payments. You can understand that traditionally you need SWIFT to move funds from one country to another. You may need about 3 to 4 working days for such a thing to be done. But due to developments by a number of fintech companies, through the advancement in APIs, which allows a number of systems in different countries to be connected, it means now we can now talk of instant payments from one country to another. So this is being enhanced, and there is security, transparency, which is a key requirement of customers. So customers, they want to be able to do that. Then the next innovation is around social media, where currently people, they spend much of their time on social media, like your WhatsApp, Facebook. So you want to be in a position to send your money just like in the same way you are sending a message to your relative. So as you check the catalog for a number of companies, you want to be in a position to send money. So this is another innovation in that area. So another area of innovation is on business to business, where companies and merchants, they also want to benefit from the same experience which is being experienced by your customers. So a number of companies, fintechs, are working in that space. Taking, for example, companies like Alipay, Stripe, they enable merchants to be connected so that payments can be done between merchants. Then lastly, the issue of the biometric payments. You don't need your PIN code, but rather your biometrics like your facial, your fingerprints, even the iris of your eye can be used as instead of your PIN code. So in short, this is what I can say. My colleagues will explain on innovations around central bank currencies and others. Thank you, Professor.
Thanks very much. It seems the fintech is making our life easy to spend more and more money.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, the next question is for Mrs. Duha. So I would love to hear from you the process of digital transformation in the local banking system. What's happening locally?
Yes, thank you دكتور. I'm sorry I will talking in Arabic. ابتداء انه اني احب احكي الفرق ما بين الفنتك والمصارف الرقميه. نلاحظ هناك اكو دائما خلط ما بين هاي المفهومين وخصوصا حتى بالمؤسسات الماليه. الفنتك هي عباره عن شركات تقدم حلول ماليه بالتكامل مع تطبيقات مختلف التخصصات. قد تكون بالامور الاستثمارات، العقارات، القطاع المالي، ودائما هذه تكون بالاعتماد على ينفذوها هم الستارت اب او شركات تقنيه تعتمد على الانوفيشن بعملها. وتنظيمها يكون من قطاعات قد يكون من قطاعات مختلفه حسب نوع الخدمات اللي تقدمها. بينما البنوك الرقميه هي مؤسسات ماليه مصرفيه بالعاده البنوك المركزيه هي اللي ترخصها. هي هذه البنوك تقدم خدمات من خلال بلاتفورم ديجيتال ما تعتمد على وجود الفروع وانما تعتمد على تقديم الخدمات من خلال التطبيقات والانترنت. بالنسبه لسوق العراق لاحظنا انه اكو هناك حتى يعني المصارف التقليديه بدأت تعتمد على شركات الفنتك بشكل كبير بالتكامل مع أنظمتها. فنشوف المصارف التقليدية قامت أيضا تقدم خدمات ديجيتال وهي لاحظناها بشكل واسع بموضوع موضوع الKYC والديجيتال اونبوردينج. وكان لها تأثير كبير بموضوع الشمول المالي، زيادة عدد الحسابات، زيادة عدد البطاقات. أيضا لاحظناها بشكل واضح بالمصارف العراقية باعتماد الفيس ريكوجنيشن، الفينجر برينت بالتحقق من الزبون. لكن يعني ننظر من زاوية أخرى وين أكو النقص أو الاستثمار ما كان نموه بشكل صحيح. نشوف أنه الفنتك بأمور السايبر سيكيورتي، الكلاود، الاي اي ما زال النمو بهذا المجال بالقطاع المصرفي والتكامل مع شركات الفنتك اللي عندها حلول بهذا المجال ما زال ضعيف. أنا أعتقد المؤسسات المالية إذا تهتم بالاستثمار بهاي المحاور راح يكون له تأثير كبير على القطاع المالي بشكل عام. طبعا احنا هنا نتكلم على القطاع المالي والمؤسسات المالية بالقطاع الخاص. المؤسسات الحكومية المملوكة من الدولة ما زالت تعاني من يعني ضعف بتقدم الخطوات بهالمجال هذا. وأيضا أحب أشير إلى شركات الدفع الإلكتروني اللي هي مؤسسات مالية مرخصة من البنك المركزي، أيضا اعتمدت على حلول الفنتك بالكثير من الخدمات اللي قدمتها من خلال الوالت والتطبيقات، وكان عندها وصول إلى شرائح قد تكون البنوك التقليدية صعب الوصول إلها أو غير مهتمة بهم. وأيضا كان لها مساهمة كبيرة بموضوع التوسع تقديم الخدمات وفق أفضل التقنيات والتوسع بالشمول المالي. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The next question is for Kak Mohammed. Given that you have a profound experience in the Middle East and you're currently a CEO of a digital bank, which is a pioneer in Iraq, I would love to hear from you your experience and observations so far on the local digitalization process. To what extent Iraq has progressed?
Yeah, thank you first, and good afternoon, everyone. Actually, let me start by a definition of FinTechs. I agree with everyone in the panel. FinTech is used to be defined by banks as the competitor. Now it's defined as the partner or the collaborator or the ecosystem builder. So without FinTechs, we cannot explore further opportunities or get extra revenues of extra sources of revenue. We cannot be an insurance company, but we can provide bank assurance. We cannot be an investment company, yet we can provide investment as a solution. We cannot be a ticketing company, yet we can provide ticketing through our app. We cannot be everything, but we can be the payment tool of everything. Internet of Things, as mentioned, is asking your coffee machine to prepare your coffee once you arrive. Paying for your coffee coming to your shelf through a drone is a fintech. Getting an accident photo for your, an insurance photo for your accident by a drone instead of waiting is a fintech. Building an InsurTech solution that gives you the insurance immediately for your travel is a fintech. So this is where we will need fintechs to help more. What I see in Iraq is that most of what we call fintechs are around the payment itself. It's not around providing the ecosystem for the banks. What we need of fintechs is providing the solutions. What banks are not providing, buy now, pay later, Tamata for buy now, pay later, MoneyGram, Western Union, the other players for the exchange and the real-time payments. Pay now, buy later, saving technologies and solutions. There are tons of fintechs that will be needed in the Iraqi market that are not addressed yet. I believe banking should be given, although I believe that central bank is playing a vital role here. They have introduced the idea or the directive actually of building a payment company so that banks by time will be able to build the instant payment solution, which is availing a one-click payment 24/7 throughout the network of Iraq, regardless where you are. Will be able to build a base for the customer onboarding or the eKYC or even the merchant KYC using a platform that is unified for the whole Iraq and reusing that data for each and every bank. That will solve a problem. Yet we still need some regulations and we'll need central bank support in building a sandbox, a regulatory sandbox. We need their support in accepting banking as a solution. It's not only that we want to consume the fintechs. We are supposed to be supporting the fintechs as well. We should be allowing some young people to open bank for freelancers, for influencers. There's a big market of influencers in Iraq. There are a lot of influencers in Iraq. There are very successful banks in the world built around a card, not about the whole thing. Fintechs, the expertise in delivering a single segment, single vertical, single service perfectly. We have to do 500,000 transaction type. We cannot perfect everything. This is where we want to collaborate with fintechs and build that. We should be enabling them to go and cover the needs that banks are not able to cover by banking as a solution or as a service and card as a service or as a solution. In parallel, we should be allowed to collaborate with them, embed more solutions and services to make the bank our daily banking solution. So if you look at FIB as a digital bank, we are allowing for gaming vouchers, we are allowing for person-to-person transfers, we are allowing for ticketing, we are allowing for hotel booking, we are allowed for flight booking. This is not banking. This is where we collaborate to build a banking experience that covers your daily life more than providing the daily transactions. This is where it becomes a relationship rather than a transaction. So this is how I see it.
Okay, thanks very much. That's very useful. It's good that Kak Mohammed talked about the regulation issue as well. If I go to Kak Hamin, if you could shed some lights on the regulation side, how they're connected to FinTech, what is the situation right now?
So if you let me, firstly, I will analyze the current state of the FinTech regulation, If we're going to classify these procedures to two parts. The first part is regulatory gap. Not in Iraq and the Kurdistan region. Around the world, the FinTech regulations lag behind. Why? Because based on the nature of the technology, which is innovation of the technology, it's newly, so that's why the regulatory, it's not suitable with this improvement of technology. Some countries use the available, the traditional banking regulatory to protect these procedures. But even this regulatory it's not applicable, and it's a main challenge nowadays. They are dealing with that. So in regard to fintech regulations, we need to be keep up with the challenges. So it's, as I told, based on the nature of the technology, so it's a based on innovation, so we can't do anything. But in regard to the flexibility, I mean the regulatory flexibility, there is one term which is called the regulation sandbox. It's very, very useful, which led the fintech companies to test their products before they use it with the supervisions of, the local regulators. So there's a risk also based on the regulation, risk based on the consumer protection and the market stability. If the consumer is not sure about their right and the other things about the regulation, so it will be very, very bad for this procedures. And otherwise, in the regard to the market stability, of course, it will be affecting. We have same situation in the Kurdistan. So in regard to my my positions and my job, I will recommend some points in terms to control these procedures. Firstly, there's many strategies to control to overcome the challenge of regulatory and the growth of the fintechs. Firstly, it's about the establishing or developing the regulatory frameworks. These frameworks that must be address the unique need of these procedures. For example, clear guidelines for tailor with the digital payment or blockchain technology and other things. Also develop or establish the regulatory sandbox. This sandbox would be led the fintech companies to take their products under the supervision of regulatory supervisions. And this is not about the process of creation. Also, it will be good for the regulators to understand the fintechs and emerging with the technology in their procedures. Also, there is a critical gap which I want to consider about the reducing the bureaucratic. So it will be very, very good to let the fintech companies to participate in the landscape of the regulation. Otherwise, should be considered about the partnership between the public and private sector. So it will be affecting by the market needs and the other things, so the regulation will be designed. And we need to be focused about the international cooperation between the countries and the cross-border countries, so it will be very, very good for the fintech ecosystems. It will be helpful. And the last point, and it's the most important one, it's about the international sanctions. So it's very, very important that the diplomatic efforts should be considered about that and show the impact of the international sanctions in terms to be defending companies to be ensured about their procedures and doing their procedures without any hesitations and other things. So it will be helped to establish. So the regulatory, the fintech regulatory, it's the main challenge and the global challenges, but nowadays they are working on it to be suitable with these procedures. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. As an expert, definitely we can see that sanction plays a big role nowadays. It blocks so many things, to the official channels. In terms of these money transactions and all that. But I'm sure this is not limited to that. There is much bigger than that. Thanks for this. Mrs. Doha, we'd like to hear from you the challenges currently that the banking sector is facing in digital transformation and all that.
بشكل عام أعتقد هناك العديد من التحديات اللي تواجه القطاع المالي والمصرفي وبالذات في بيئة مثل العراق. لكن أنا راح أسلط الضوء على 3 تحديات أساسية يمكن العمل عليها راح يقدر يساعد بفتح السوق وتقديم الخدمات بشكل أفضل. الأولى مثل ما تفضل زميلي هي التحديات التنظيمية. يمكن البنك المركزي العراقي من البنوك اللي بالمنطقة اللي داعمة جدا الديجيتال ترانسفورميشن، ودائما اكو هناك تعليمات باعتماد المؤسسات المالية والمصرفية باعتماد التقنيات الحديثة، مرة بالإلزام ومرة بالتشجيع حتى تكون احنا مؤسساتنا هي تقدم الخدمات اللي نطمح لها. لكن بنفس الوقت هاي التعليمات دائما تحتاج لها تحديث وتطوير، ولازم البنوك المركزية والريجوليتر يكون قريب جدا من شركات الفinTech، من المؤسسات المصارف الناشئة، حتى يعرف توجهاتها، يعرف طريقة العمل مالتها، يقدر في هالحالة فقط أنه يقدر يخلي التعليمات المناسبة لهم. المهم هي خلق بيئة مناسبة لشركات الفinTech تقدر تختبر من عندها التقنيات تريد تستخدمها. طبعا بالتاكيد هي هذه يعني المشكله مو فقط البنك المركزي العراقي يعاني منها، كل البنوك المركزيه. التقدم والتسارع بالنمو التكنولوجي اسرع من التطور بموضوع الاطار التنظيمي. لذلك يعني مثل ما اشار انه استاذ هيمن انه اكو البنوك المركزيه بدات تتجه لإنشاء صناديق الساند بوكس. صناديق الساند بوكس هي الاختيار الأمثل للبنوك المركزية، أنه تقدر تختبر التقنيات الحديثة، تكون تحت إشرافها، تحت رقابتها، وبالتالي راح نقدر نطلق تقنيات جديدة، وأيضا تكون لها تشريعات وتوقيتات بالتنفيذ مناسبة للجميع.
Thank you. I come back to you, Kak Mohammed. I mean, we come across all the time, we hear a lot of issues about the scams and the identity thefts kind of situations. I mean, from your experience, long experience, if you could shed light on that and how you could think that things could be addressed to minimize these sort of security issues.
So usually you need to look at the root cause. Root cause is either greed or education. Being greedy makes you let go your safeguards. So if you want to increase your limit, if you want to get extra money, you got an email for $10,000 from someone you never knew about, you are able to get an extra transaction for nothing, then you will let go your safeguard. And what if I go to the ATM and someone asks me for my debit card? No one will give it. Why would I give them the card number and the PIN code and the CVV and the OTP suddenly? So that's, again, it's rules of seduction. You play the rules, and you'll find some greedy people or not educated enough. So our role is to educate and to add some pillars of extra security layers. Problem with that is that it becomes it becomes a bit complex. It's not customary. It plays against the customer experience. And here we will depend on artificial intelligence and machine learning to make it related to the second or third transaction of doing so. It should be limiting both parties. Here again, we will need the collaboration. Here again, we'll need the regulations of data privacy and customer privacy data. Open banking regulations comes with the data regulations and the customer privacy. So we will need to add our education. We will need to add our financial literacy communication more and more. We need to add some non-customary controls to the process, and then we will start releasing that by looking at the customer profile, the digital savviness they are in, digital fitness they are in, and reduce that for specific customers.
Okay. I mean, is there any thought regarding the old age population? Because I have seen in some of the developing countries that scammers, they do target the old age population because they know that they are not quite digital in terms of literacy and all that. They target them, they make phone calls to them, they ask them even to type on the OTP, and they do that. I mean, is there anything that happening on that horizon? I mean, to minimize those?
Yeah, so again, it's adding another step where you're telling your customer that if this CVV is appearing, you will ask the customer on his mobile to approve a transaction.
Yes.
Then they will understand that something is happening on the other side. So it's let's call it a soft token solution or technology that allows you to approve a transaction even if it's done, especially if it's done on another side of the story. The payment gateway is the main pillar that's used currently in Iraq for sealing the card and the identity theft on that card or that transaction. So adding that soft token to the transaction will limit doing multiple transactions. It has to be played between acquirers and issuers jointly. You cannot block the acquirer. Then this will kill the whole use case and the value of it. It has to be played between both parties.
Oh, fantastic. From your experience, if you could ask another question about why online banking is not really working much here. I mean, the way we do in the UK, US, for example, it's just a matter of few minutes to do online banking, but it's not happening much here.
I'll tell you a story of countries nearby.
Okay.
We have all what it takes to move forward. Simplicity is a queen. What we tend usually to do is to make it complicated, bankable.
Yes.
So we build the banking and we make it as complicated and sophisticated as we want to call a bank. And so we think that we are protecting the customer while we are protecting ourselves against the audit reports, which does not contradict. I can still protect myself and protect the banking industry by doing certain solutions that are technology savvy and progressive without having the limitation in the process. So if you look at Revolut today, it's a 3 clicks process for everything. There is a reason for the 3 clicks. People are watching shorts on YouTube. They're not watching YouTube anymore. People are getting bored. Banking is boring by definition. Allow me to say that as a banker. I always say banking is boring as a definition if it's transactional. We're adding gamification to banking to make it interesting.
Yeah.
We're adding coffee machines and coffee cent and the cent to banking to make it more interesting. We're adding an experience to banking. So anything without an experience is boring. To avoid this conversion dropping down, we have to think about it in a different way. We build it for old people or we build it for young generation. You might end up having different solutions.
Right.
People are learning when there is a need. But when there is no need, when there is a need for you, you have to learn how to provide a solution.
Yes.
You don't have to continue putting, and it's a push product. It's not a push. Mobile banking, the banking experience 24/7 is not a push. It should be a pull. This customer is saving you money over the counter, saving you money on the ATM, saving you money on the replenishments, saving you money on the identity theft, saving you money on tons of things. It's worth adding a loyalty solution. It's worth adding some gamification.
Right.
It's worth adding a better or simplified process. It's worth having a customer experience and user experience revision on your platform and portal. That's why you'll see adoption in some banks going up to 90 and 100%.
Yeah.
Other banks struggling around the 30 and 40%. In Jordan, for instance, we used to think before COVID, which was our change agent, that 40% conversion is perfect. After COVID, we moved to thinking about 92%.
Oh.
Nothing happened, COVID. We did not do anything, COVID. People realized that they cannot withdraw cash, they have to pay using their cards. They could not go to the ATM, they have to use point of cash, point of sale.
Right.
People realized that they have to learn how to pay their bills. That was a push of COVID. A pull should happen by gamification and loyalty, I believe.
Thank you. Thank you. I come across a case in China that when you want to give money to the beggars, you have to use actually banking app to pay money to the beggars, actually. No cash. Going back to Dr. Jacob, the common perception among us is that you need an internet connection, probably Wi-Fi connection, to do this sort of banking transactions and all that. Is it always the case? What happens in the remote areas, probably, in some of the countries? How do they manage?
Okay, thank you for that question. I'm from Africa, sub-Saharan Africa. So, for example, in my country, the applications are in 2 versions. We have the USSD code version, and also the application which runs through internet, both from banks and also mobile money transfer companies. So you find out that majority of people, they favor the USSD code applications. And the question is why? For USSD code, you don't need internet to be able to transact. And then also, you don't need a specialized phone like a smartphone. Then the question is, for the current applications, let's say in this region, in Iraq, maybe the perception is that consumers, they are able to buy data for internet, and also they are able to afford the smartphone. It's true for certain sections of the urban areas, but what about in those areas where low-income people live? Things like data and a smartphone, it's a major investment decision to be made. They cannot simply say, I want a new smartphone. So I'm saying the technology should be inclusive in the way it is designed and distributed. So you don't need a reason to say why you are not using the digital application. So if it is USSD run, it means the application issues to do with internet are not a major constraint. Then the next question is, you'll find out that with internet, you need electricity or power which is continuous, which is not interrupted. So it means if, let's say, your generators, I can see in this city so many generators. What if along the way you run short of fuel? It means you are not able to transact because maybe the booster which power internet is now down. So there's need for that balance to say, let's have applications which are able to address the needs of the society. Let's say you move out of this city, you go to the rural areas or the countryside where you have some farmers there. You also need to consider them in the digital payments drive, where you also want them to enjoy the same service which is being enjoyed in urban areas. In terms of my experience in this city, with my working colleague, I think we walked about 3 kilometers to go to a Corex office just to buy airtime. And when we arrived at Corex office, we discovered that there was a queue. And it means now we now have about 30 minutes of time maybe which we were supposed to use for other things. But in my country, you just buy your airtime through what either the USSD code or the internet-based application. So there's need for consumers to trust the digital platforms in this region and also in Iraq. And my other experience is that when I came here, I lost my bank card while I was in my country, which means my wife is not able to visit the bank and withdraw money from my bank account. But I tried to use my Visa card. I was not able to withdraw cash. But I was able to transact through the platform, moving funds from my account while I'm here to my wife's bank account. So that's my other experience which I experienced in this city, that people, they like cash so much. And by demanding cash, you are losing so much in terms of opportunities which are available to banks. That's what I can say for now. Yeah.
Thanks very much. That's interesting.
Yes.
Actually, we reached the end part of the discussion.
Yes.
I have a question out of curiosity. I know the countries like Chile and all that, they adopted digital currency as a, the central bank approved it. Yes. I mean, is there anything, any progress here? I mean, any of you can answer it. I mean, is there any progress here? Or any prospect?
I'll tell you about the region. CBDC is a bit complicated. It has so many questions unanswered yet. So CBDC is the central bank digital currency. It requires shifting out the cash, the physical cash, and paying using the central bank digital currency. And the first case that you will hit was the blockchain technology that you will use. Which platform will you use? Ethereum, Ripple, or whatever it is. How will you depend on that technology, and what will happen with the change on the prices there and the platform technology enhancement and advancements. The cashback, how will it happen? How will the merchant net? It's a whole ecosystem. From what I see, CBDC is a bit far from our lives.
Okay.
Moving into tokenization, WhatsApp banking, USSD or a response or message banking is fine. CBDC would take a longer time in our region.
Yes.
All along.
Yeah, thanks very much. The floor is actually open now. If you have any question, you feel free to ask question, please. Yes. Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Doctor. In fact, I had two questions. My first question was about digital asset, and you talked about that. Thank you. And the second question goes to Mr. Muhammad. You touched on an interesting part about financial ecosystem, which is totally limited to payment only. And of course, we've got different competitors. We've got every company has a specialized features. What about other services like, for instance, InsurTech, like wealth tech, others? Do we have that kind of infrastructure here, or do we have any prospect for that? Because of course, we have a for example, very poor insurance system here in our country. Thank you.
So I won't claim this is my area of expertise, but I'll answer you according to my friends. So InsurTech is on high demand currently. Jordan is regulating and sponsoring the InsurTech big time, starting from travel insurance to health and life insurance, availing that through banks or through other digital solutions will help insurance grow, especially that they are not into the business of having branches and managing a network. So InsurTech and the technology that comes with it will make even the underwriting of insurance easier. So if you look at me when you want to insure my car, if I drive at the speed, if I don't make so many breaks, I'm not talking about accidents, if I don't cut the yellow traffic light every time, then my insurance cost or quota should be much less than someone who breaks a lot, drives in a different way. Embedding some solutions within the banking apps will help insurance. Insurance has been known to be a partner of banks in bank assurance. So, and InsurTech will help insurance reduce their losses and reduce their operational expenses. I believe this is much needed, especially in a country like Iraq. I agree to that. On wherever you look at, there are drones currently delivering food to the refrigerators. You have the risk of losing your company identity, because you'll be asking for a detergent, not a Persil, not any other brand. Brand is at risk with these technologies and solutions. And that the same will happen to insurance. The same will happen to banking. People will start asking, I want to open a bank account. If Amazon is answering, Amazon will be giving the solution, not us. Now we're in the age of opening our accounts personally. So by time, it will be a voice command. Please open me a current account. Open me the best current account. The one answering will be Siri or Alexa, not me. So even competition will be harder. It won't be in this way. I won't say it won't be fair. It will be totally different. So yes, we will need the InsurTech, but let's be careful from what we wish for.
If I may ask a bit clarity. In the UK, we've seen that they put a device in the car and they monitor the speed, for the whole year. And sometimes they even refund you some money. This is part of InsurTech also, right? I suppose?
I've seen companies in our region having solutions. Once you download that application, you get a discount on your insurance.
Right.
Because again, it calculates your speed, it calculates the number you hit the brake, calculates your driving time. The less you drive, the less accidents you are exposed to. And it's not anymore your age. It's not anymore who you are. It's not anymore your employer or who you are.
It's about what
it's your behavior.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you. Next question. Yes, there.
So my name is Sunny. I work in NGO sector, and my question is I work in development sector. My question is on access to finance in remote areas of Iraq, because sometimes when we implement the project and give skill trainings and all of that stuff, do capacity building, I think the bottleneck is access to finance, because we facilitate with grants up to some extent, but beyond that, I think NGOs are stuck. So, how to bring the informal sector in remote areas of Iraq into the mainstream of banking? And the second question is, from your experience, what is the experience of microfinance? What are the learnings of microfinance in this region? Is there any potential? Should NGOs do more? And I would like to hear any other comments if you have anything you want NGO sector to do in general. Thank you.
Is this question addressed to Kak Mohammed? Or
It's open. It's I don't have any specific person.
I would want to share experience from my country. You find out that the digital platforms, let's say mobile money and also, especially mobile money, it's normally used by the poor people. They've room to ensure that they can also borrow from the digital platform, depending on how they use the line. The number of calls you make, it also qualifies you to borrow a certain amount of money from the platform. It also supports savings within groups. They can form a savings group. Let's say a group of 5, they can save their money. The platform will provide controls to ensure that all the groups, members within the group, they don't abuse the money. So it means within the platform, it should not only be focused on payments, but it should create a savings platform. So that they can borrow, let's say, within that group. So that's one way the rural communities are able to borrow from mobile money or even mobile banking. So that's my experience. Yes.
thank you. Yeah.
So, yeah, what was mentioned was as well. You can look at crowdfunding and crowd lending. That's one solution. NGOs cannot be lent much because you always need a resource of repayment, and you need to make sure that you're not executing any extra collaterals. It's a hard one to do, to be frank. But on the other side, the micro lending side will require a lot of, it will happen digitally. It requires a lot of fraud detection and fraud risk management, followed by a lot of artificial intelligence and machine learning, because you will learn from the patterns. Some areas you will lend, other areas you will stop lending. You will have to diverse your investment as a bank in different situations. The limitation of lending or financing in Iraq is the basic of banking. You have more funding, you can do more financing. Less funding is less financing. That's one. The other part is if I can get a revenue of making a remittance that's higher than financing, why would I take the risk? So the risk return formula is not fixed. I believe this is one, but the more important one is the funding than the lending. We personally as FIB, we are partnering with a buy now pay later company, and we are on the term sheet side of a micro lending company. That will help us enable the micro lending. It will start with minimal tickets, learning, helping students get their tablets or laptops, then helping some people to pay for durable goods, fridge or whatever, or build a small business. And then by the time the machine should be fixing the scorecard and the fraud detection and make it more appealing or attract more customers or accept more. So I hope this answers.
Yes, doctor.
Good afternoon to all the panelists here, and thank you for the very crucial discussion here. I have a question, like in Iraq, when you, there are customers who want to get attached to the bank. So how do you attract them? Or how do you make a trust for their stability in the long term, just not as a person to keep money in the bank, but having like investment or to increase their corpus over a long period of time? So say, for example, the mutual funds or systematic investment plan or the pension scheme, so that they feel connected to the bank for a long period of time and build a trust and stability, and they feel secure with the bank. So is there anything which here the banks provide?
Yeah, so we usually start by saving because we need to build a culture of saving. This is what reduces the culture of spending and the spending behavior and makes the whole economy better one. And that will avail funding as well. After the saving, we go into the deposits products. Then we go into the real estate investment. This is how the brokerage firms will tell you to do it properly. You need to have cash, then you will have an asset, a property. Then you move into the investment of mutual funds or a higher risk products. As I mentioned, maybe I did not, FIB is in the process of, we're in the term sheet of finalizing with an investment solution provider where you will be able to do the investment in stocks or in equities or in mutual funds or even in a contract for difference. Crypto is not allowed.
Okay, so if I want to invest my money in the bank in Iraq, do I have the same rights to invest in mutual funds or in property?
You mean as a non-Iraqi?
Yeah.
As a non-Iraqi.
That's not me.
Can I add something?
I'll answer on my
Yes,
behalf,
you can
but
answer,
Ms.
yes.
Doha can answer better.
Sorry.
Yes.
Please.
I think the build of a trust between the customer and the banking, it is also depend on the government. The government should working to have a plan in whole the country regarding the financial literacy. I think most of the countries now started to have this educational in schools and universities to make sure that we have already customer know how he choose the bank, how he choose the technique he needed. And I think when the customer, the consumer, will be have transparency about all the services, the fees, the instruction of the bank, he will build the trust one by one. I think it is very important that the government take this role and support all the educational to build the trust.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Here?
Thanks so much. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to all. I mean, I guess Dr. Muhammad talked about risk, but what's the challenges and obstacles of banking sector development and risk, especially in Iraq? Thanks.
The rest for managing a bank in Iraq, what was the question? That's it?
You talked about so many risks in general, I mean, around the world, but where is the risk, the pain point is of banking sector development in Iraq, only in Iraq?
Okay. So I'll put it this way. We in Iraqi banks, and I'm saying we because I belong here now, we did not learn how to do the lending for individuals. We did not learn how to build banking propositions that can compete. Just take out a Bank of Iraq and put it in the Dubai or Amman or Beirut or anywhere. Can we compete? If the answer is yes, then we are ready. If the answer is no, then we did not learn from a competition point of view. We're not ready. And this is where FinTechs will help boost that. Because some FinTechs are ready on that special term. The second part is definitely the sanctions, as my colleague mentioned. Sanctions is a big one. The most important one is having correspondent banking currently, which is having relations to continue doing business. Because your Visa or MasterCard card will require settlement by the end of the day to an external bank. So correspondent banking is a risk. Credit, operational, information security, all of that happens in Iraq. Currency fluctuation is a risk. Yet, let me put it this way. I'm an optimistic. I always say where there is a risk, it's an opportunity. No one enjoys such an opportunity in the globe for me compared to Iraq. Iraq is just evolving. We have watched that happening in 10 markets. We can learn at their cost, not our cost. We know how to do it and when to do it and what to do exactly. It's all about aligning with our regulators and aligning with the fintech scene to build that ecosystem that allows for this jump. I always say Iraq does not play the crawl, walk, and run. Iraq jumps. Does not crawl, does not walk, does not run. Iraq only jumps. So I can tell you 5 years ago when I first came here, I was sitting alone having my shisha, no one around me. Now I cannot find a place. This tells you how many expats are here. This tells you how interesting is the market. This tells you the size of the opportunities in the market is. So yes, there is a risk, yet it's calculated. Calculated risk leads to calculated return. This is what we learned after the financial crisis. We just added the word calculated. We used to say risk leads to return. No. Risk leads to catastrophe. If it's calculated risk, it leads to calculated return. So people have calculated in the region. Iraqis are of clear patterns of behavior and trend. Iraqi businessmen and the trade finance business is huge. No one is enjoying that with this scene of competition and complexity. We don't have the complexity, we have a big window to grow. And I always say the market allows tens of people to play. It's not for one. We need to start thinking how to complete each other, not to compete. It's the sake of the country, not of the institution. I know this is a bit out of, it's not a non-for-profit organization, I understand. Yet it gives you more profit when you collaborate. So I believe there are risks, identified, calculated, clear. Everyone can address them in a proper way. We'll continue to learn. It's a learning curve. If there is no learning, it's too boring. Banking and no learning is too boring. But I'll tell you this, if we capture the simple opportunities that we have, will be the scene of the Middle East, at least in the coming 5 years.
Thank you. Actually, as part of our teaching also in the university, we often tell our business students, and I share actually a joke kind of thing with my students that when East India Company came to India, when they came to India, they actually sent some group of people to explore the shoe market in Africa. The group of people came back, they said, boss, there is no chance. Nobody wears shoes there. Next year, another group of people came back, they said, boss, there is huge opportunity to do business. Why? Because nobody wears shoes there. So it depends on, you see the half full or half empty. And in terms of Iraq, our students sometimes get really frustrated. Nothing is happening here. Because nothing is happening here, so there is opportunity of happening everything here. So what Kak Mohammed was saying actually, risk factor is there, but there is a lot to do in this country. There is a lot of potential. Let's be more optimistic about this. Yes, please.
Thank you for the discussions and the interesting points. My question, being in HR, my question has to do with that. So my question is for everyone. What impact do you see FinTech having on the job creation in the financial sector in Iraq and Kurdistan specifically? Thank you.
All right. Would you like to answer? Yes, please.
Okay. I think there is a lot of impact from the fintech on the financial sector, especially on some services in the bank regarding the digital onboarding, the eKYC, all the application and the transaction now we are seeing from application. It is the debate on integration between fintech and the core bank system. And also there is some companies and banks depend on face recognition, fingerprint. All of these techniques, I think, have a very positive impact on the financial services in Iraq. But I think it is need more work, more investment, more another sector work on it. It will be open the market in another way.
From the university perspective, what I can add here is actually we are also changing our educational deliveries accordingly. Like we are incorporating more digital business, digital finance kind of modules. We are trying to connect with the industry in terms of guest speakers and all that, and we are trying to show how AI is going to help the sector. So it is actually because if we create traditional graduates, they are going to fail. They're not going to get any job. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to more giving digital literacy to the students so that they are prepared to adjust with the changing market scenario. But I think still we can do much more than what we are doing. So,
And I believe that HR will enjoy what's happening. No,
Yes.
frankly. You will enjoy having smarter people, more digital fit people. You'll enjoy making them do smarter things rather than repetitive things.
yes.
The operations, the way we used to know, is the business process management platform today. The detection of fraud will be of a machine more than a human. Yet people has to design it. The relationship management or managers are the least threatened by the AI or machine learning. Whenever people say you're bringing machines, you're bringing, since 10 years we're hearing, bringing mobile apps, you will let us out. We don't. You'll become more of a relationship manager, a wealth manager. A learning and development will get you a lot out of the market in no time. The Uber of banking did not even start yet. So you'll be able to recruit more without paying much, if you look at it from a different angle. And you'll be able to build more and more revenue streams using your smarter people in the organization instead of just repeating the same things every day. This is how I see it.
Yes, there's a question here.
You hear me? Yeah. Thank you for this panel and useful discussions, actually. My question is regarding the consumer protection. Okay, yeah, I believe one of the most serious barriers of developing banking sector in Iraq is lack of consumer trust and lack of protection by the authorities and government, actually, from the any sort of default of the banks or whatever happens. So let me make my question specific. So assuming that I have 100 million dinars in my bank account and the bank goes bankrupt, okay, can I get this money back? Who's protecting me in Iraq?
Mrs. Doha, any central bank perspective?
Yes.
If a bank goes bust, and are they going to lose money, or there is some protection from the government side?
Yes, of course, there is a consumer protection regulation that issued by central banks, and each one should have looking on it. It is on website, and my advice for everyone when he want to working with any banks, especially in Iraq environment, you should take care and looking for the best one to put their investment in it. Because as you know, we are talking about some challenges regarding section, working with USD dollar, and it was impact in several services in Iraq. So I think it is depend on the central bank to have a good regulation and protect all the consumer. And there is, I think, a lot of steps that central bank do it regarding the establish of company. It is guarantees of the bank account of the consumer, and it is now all the banks they are participate in it, and all the previous issues that the bank's consumer was faced, now it is done, but it is still there is responsibility to each one want to make his saving in account, to take care and looking in a very good way for the banks and their services and their behavior.
I can give you a few tips. Look at the shareholders to start with. Iraq is a big country, yet it's small as well. You'll know the good names and the big names. And most of the current ones are. Second tip, look at the audit report. First 2 pages. Don't read the whole one. Third one, we are risk rated like we risk rate our customers. So there are agencies. There are stronger agencies than others. Like you Google when you look for a car. Just Google who's the best rating agency. What's this rating? What's Iraq rating, which is the maximum of banks? This is a commercial for FIB currently. We are rated B-, similar to Iraq sovereign risk, which is the highest any bank can get. So you have to look at these factors. This is where people are flipping our papers upside down. looking for gaps, looking for any point that will make it harder. And look at the governance. They will tell you if there is a good governance or not. The ownership is clear or not. Ultimate beneficiary owner, the one who is taking the money, the name is clear or not. So look at our risk rating, any bank. Look at the audit report, first 2 pages, and look at the shareholders. This is how we invest in stocks usually.
It's a good one, yeah.
Maybe from me, maybe the government can set up what we call a depositors protection corporation. There's one in my country. After a series of bank collapses, that corporation was set up where each and every deposit is insured. In the event of collapse, depositors they are able to claim some of their some of the funds which they deposited into a bank.
Iraq has that, and it's mandatory.
Yes.
So Iraq has that, and it's mandatory. But it protects you to a certain limit.
Okay.
If you're going to put $100 million, you can use the 3 tips.
Okay. Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for the panelists and for your great insights and remarks. As long as we are talking about the fintech and digital bank, we shall not rule out the QR code payment, right? A question for Ms. Duha. What are the steps that central bank should take in order to make that transition smoother between the banks instead of depending on other or cards in general? What are the steps that CBI should take to make that transition smoother between the banks? Thank you.
Yes, I think central bank already have the infrastructure as a national switch to make all the domestic transaction with the different kind of tools, cards, QR code, wallet, and now it is the market open for the companies and banks to select what the technique they are needed. From my vision, I think the QR code, it is always using for a very small amount, and the countries, they already have local switch, and all the transaction between card, it will be done with national switch, and it will always a very small fees on it, and it should be done very useful, and there are no need for the QR code, but it is not certain. Everything it is open. Some companies, our banks, they are was willing to use or to develop the QR code and using it. I think some banks, some wallet, they are using it, but it is still very limited because it is just between their customer. When it will be open and we can link company with other bank with other companies, I think it will be centralized and it will have a good impact on the financial sector.
And you think the CBI is ready for that?
Well, CBI, I think now working about the instant payment, and instant payment will be cover all these things. Wallet to card, wallet to account, also use QR code between different banks and different companies.
If I may compliment Kak Idris. So the payment company that was requested by central bank and Triple P, public-private partnership company that will be partnered with the central bank, as Ms. Duha said, should have an instant payment direction. Instant payment usually comes with the dynamic and static QR code, correct? So with that regulation, you will make it formal for everyone. There is a platform. It depends now on the private sector to build that company and to partner on building that. Are we ready as private sector? This should be the question to us. Central bank is ready. He let off the guards. He said, let's partner to do it.
Well, I guess as a private sector, I believe FIB is ready. I don't know what's your remark on that.
I believe we are ready. I believe we are ready, and we want to make payment easier and payment more accessible to everyone, complementing the whole market, not only for one player. So everyone should be able to do it, because once the norm is there, your customers will be adopting more. the uptake of applying, let's say, Apple Pay or QR code by time is an uptake in your transactions of 20-25%. So it comes with the benefit to everyone. So I believe we are ready. I believe Iraq is ready. Thank you.
No more question? I believe that's it. Thank you very much for your interest in the panel discussion. We really appreciate that. Any of you like to add anything?
Thank you.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, sit down. We'll take a photo.